Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and a continuing series on the Sega STV or Sega Titan video arcade board, and today we're taking a look at Astra Superstars. It's a 1 vs 1 2D fighting game that takes place in the sky and has some really interesting floaty, almost flight mechanics to it. But it's a spectacular game to play. It's got a great roster. If you've ever played Waku Waku 7 on the Neo Geo AES or MVS, you're going to love this one. Before we get too far involved there, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we have a Patreon link down below as well. But I've always loved Waku Waku 7, therefore I am very partial to like something like Astra Superstars. And right off the top you get this really interesting prompt where you can respond in different ways to your opponent, and it'll either make nothing happen, it'll make them cool down, or it'll make them heat up. But right off the top, you're going to see that this is not your traditional fighting game, because we are flying through the air, and not only can we jump up, but we can actually float down into the bottom of the screen and attack our opponents from below, as well as kind of get underneath them. It makes the classic 2D fighting game formula feel completely new and unique and fresh, because now all of a sudden we have 3 planes of existence theoretically to be on. We can be level with our opponent, we can be above them, or we can be below them, and it's very rare in a fighting game you are below your opponent. But this game, when you're playing it well, when you're pulling off special moves, when you're just completely destroying your opponent, feels absolutely incredible in motion and almost unlike any other fighting game I've ever played before. It's definitely not the deepest fighting game ever. You can probably beat this on your 3rd or 4th credit by playing it for like 15-20 minutes. The CPU is not that difficult. But if you play with friends and you both get really good at this game, the matches are just wild and intense. The screen is lighting up with color and flashes. You are flying from one end of the screen to the other in mere seconds. It's got a sense of speed and fluidity and motion to it that honestly I don't really feel like I've ever encountered in another 2D fighting game, and that is just down to how different it really is. I mean, obviously, if you played any 2D fighting game, you're going to understand this going in, but you really need to reorient your mind space as far as how the screen is concerned to understand if you're attacking on level, above, or below your opponent. As you'll see there, I whiffed half of my special attack because it's a lower special attack. There are different heights that you can attack to, and that's going to impact your overall gameplay session, because you can see that I whiffed a few. I'm going to end up actually losing this match, because had I connected with that special, I would have been way out in advance like I am here. But when you get a good combo going, when you're linking 3, 4, 7, in some instances 15, 20 hits together, everything feels just so good. This is the type of game that when you're playing it well, you feel like you're absolutely invincible, and when you make a simple mistake, you are going to be punished for it. If you miss a super, or if you misjudge your opponent and go high when they go low, you can really just get absolutely decimated at a moment's notice, and that's what I really love about this game. Matches swing momentum almost instantaneously, and that to me is just some of the most fun you can have in a video game when you're really not quite sure whether or not you're going to be the winner or the loser, and one wrong move can completely change the tide of battle. Because if you are behind and you get one good special attack in, you can totally change the entire vibe of that match and come out ahead when you thought you were just going to absolutely get yourself destroyed. And Astra Superstars just gives all of that to me, and trust me, with a second player this game gets even better. But as good as this game plays, I haven't even talked about the visuals yet, which I will in a moment, but I love the soundtrack and I love the dialogue as well, because you get a lot of story, especially for a fighting game. So go ahead and listen for like 30 seconds and I'll be right back and talk more about the game. But enjoy!
Round 1, fight!
だ。これが欲しいから。楽にしてやる。
The soundtrack is as fun and vibrant as the graphics in this game are, and that's something that I want to talk about right now, is just how amazing the sprite work is on this game. There's so many frames of animation. The only thing that doesn't have a lot going for is the backgrounds. They are quite static, but if this game does look slightly familiar to you and you don't know why, like I mentioned earlier, this is the next game in a quote-unquote series from Sunsoft of fighting games, and the game that came before it was Waku Waku 7. Now, they have no real relationship except they play similarly and they're from the same company, but Sunsoft and the developers they use when it came to fighting games, they went left when everyone else went right, and they made really colorful, really vibrant, fun, charming, and cute fighting games, and Astra Superstars definitely follows that vibe, because Waku Waku 7 is just one of the most colorful and fun fighting games I've ever played. And going back over to Astra Superstars, you can see that same color vibrancy and that same personality coming over from Waku Waku 7. I just wish that the backgrounds had a little bit more going on with them, but I get that it's probably just pushing at the limits of the Sega STV or Saturn, because this game came to the Saturn too. They're very similar hardware, because there are so many frames of animation, there are so many different effects going on at once, and it is running at a perfect lock 60 frames per second. But the sprite work and all the animation in it and all the different frames of animation and that super move there where you get the sprite really big in the middle of the screen, it's just absolutely spectacular. I love it. I give it a 10 out of 10. And the reason I really wanted to talk about this game is there's so many good fighting games on the Saturn and the STV, but this is one that deserves more love because I don't hear it talked about near as much as a lot of the Capcom CPS2 games that came over, or some of the other 2D fighting games on the STV. This is one that not many people I feel like currently play or have ever played, and I really want to change that with the video, but do leave me a comment down below and tell me if you've ever played Astra Superstars before. I'd be curious to see how many comments I get saying, I've played it before, I love it, versus I've never heard of this before, because every video I put out on something that's a little bit more obscure, I do see comments that say, I've never heard of this game before, and I always love that and always tell people they have to go play it if that's their answer. But Astra Superstars is just one of those games that's so much fun, it's so different, and it's so unique. You owe it to yourself to play it if you never have. And especially if you've never played Waku Waku 7, play that one as well. I know this is a video on Astra Superstars, but if you've never checked that game out either, play both of these, because they're very unique and different and amazing. Now, unfortunately, this game is also extremely expensive, so you might want to find a more quote-unquote free way to play it. But however you play it, definitely check it out, because this is one of those games that just always makes me happy when I'm playing it. The bright, colorful nature of it, the amazing soundtrack, and the fact that the game is doing something mechanically different than every other fighting game on the market at that point in time really makes it feel like a special experience. And like I said, if you have friends that are into fighting games and you play this together and learn it together, you're going to have some of the most interesting, intense, one-on-one 2D fighting game versus matches you'll ever have. But yeah, that's Astra Superstars. I'll be back next Wednesday with our episode in the STV video series. I'll have videos for the week as well. But leave me a comment down below. I'm curious to hear who's played this and who's never heard of it before. Hit like and subscribe. I am going to lose, unfortunately, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.